We're enslaved behaviourally, ideologically, obviously monetarily. The whole system is designed to enslave the people to be minions of the agenda of the ruling class. But at the same time, we've never had more power to be free.
Hey friends, welcome back. This is Sean from SGT Report. I'm very happy to have back on the line my Aussie independent journalist friend Phillip Watt. And I think it's time we get a geopolitical perspective, an international perspective. Phillip, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
How have you been?
Yeah, real good. Doing my own individual attempt at undermining the toxicity of the system, as well as continuing on the path of trying to build a little unity about what's going on in the allied media, alternative media.
Good man. Well, let me ask you this. The last time we spoke about whether or not the people or the elite hold the trump card. And since Donald Trump has been elected president, we've seen some very good things he's done on behalf of the republic. But I'm afraid I have some bad news to share, and we'll get to that in a second. What's your take on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned in the previous interview, there needs to be some pretty serious changes, I guess, redesigns of particular aspects of the system. So far, I'm not entirely impressed, but we are only talking 2 weeks into the process. So what's going on multiple levels behind the scenes is yet to be identified. Yet, one of the obvious examples is the Federal Reserve and the theft of the money supply. Banking in general, as I talked about in the previous interview, needs to be community-based in my view, but that's a side issue. The way money is created in society needs to be to the benefit of the people and the environment. Another one is the war on drugs, the drug laws. They're absolutely dismal and have created and manifested so many problems in society. So if once that gets a bit of attention from Trump, then I might start feeling more at ease with what he's doing. But at the moment he's looking at just the cartels in Mexico and the supply of drugs, not the inherent problems in the design of drugs laws themselves. But as again, to reiterate what I said in the previous interview, this isn't about getting Trump to enact what we believe needs to be enacted. We are divided on so many levels in terms of the people, the alternative media, etc., as to what really needs to be done. So my preferred approach is to not just take some individual responsibility for, exiting or disengaging from the system, from the toxicity of the system to the best of our ability, but also having some basic common ground where we can unite on some values and some core areas of focus, all within the construct or context of natural law, to move forward in at least some sort of general direction that is going to be at the benefit, again, for the people and the environment.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, what we need is a world that lives in peace, and as you and I both know, the military-industrial complex in the United States has been the beneficiary of nothing less than trillions and trillions of dollars. In fact, I think at this point the count is somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $8 trillion missing from the Pentagon by their own account. And I've been very passionate, Phillip, in the weeks since Trump has been elected, to say that we need to be intellectually honest about what he's doing and how he's doing it, and I've pledged to be completely honest and forthright about Donald Trump, whether he does good or whether he does bad. And I just want to follow that up with this soundbite from my friend Melissa Dyke's new video called Trump's New World Order. Phillip, I want you to listen to this.
These statements encapsulate a documented conspiracy that was drafted under President Bush, implemented under President Obama, and is finally coming into full fruition under President Trump, once again illustrating the continuity of agenda that transcends party politics, presidencies, and political rhetoric, driven by immense corporate financier special interests, and not the will of the American public.
I'm going to pause it there and just say real quickly, she's citing a Brookings Institute document that tells them, the elite, how they are going to get the American people to agree to go to war with Iran.
And people ignored largely during the debates when Trump mentioned Iran, but he mentioned Iran quite a bit during the debates.
And you know who's going to be the beneficiary? Iran. Iran, as I said many years ago, Iran is taking over Iraq. The Iran deal and how bad a deal it is for us. It's a one-sided transaction, a terrorist state, really the number one terrorist state. Iran should write us a letter of thank you. The deal with Iran will lead to nuclear problems. All they have to do is sit back 10 years, and they don't have to do much, and they're going to end up getting nuclear. I met with Bibi Netanyahu the other day. Believe me, he is not a happy camper.
I'm going to pause it right there. Philip, your reaction. It looks like we're going to be going to war with Iran if the powers that be get their wish, and that's the last thing the world needs.
Well, Iran was on that list of the 7 countries that was part of the Bush's administration leaked memo back before 9/11. And it is obvious that the military-industrial complex has been hell-bent on supporting Israeli goals, and why it's unbelievable given the genocide they're inflicting on the Palestinian people. My good friend Max Egan has covered this extensively, and I would love to refer people to his work to really understand how the dynamics between the Israeli and Palestinian conflict has been playing out for so long. Iran is obviously part of the Greater Israel Project as well, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned in our previous interview that we need to look at what Trump does in response to Israel, because it has been a long-standing term of discussion, term of reference within the Truth and Freedom Network as to what the US and American oligarchy and the globalist sort of, I guess, ideology is doing in terms of supporting the Israeli genocide and takeover of the Middle East. So, and what is Trump doing? He's shown pretty strong support for Israel. He hasn't talked about any of the problems. I think he talked recently about not expanding on the settlements, which looked as a bit of a good first step. But, I mean, real action really needs to take place in terms of what's going on in Israel and in that part of the world.
Well, did you find it also troubling in that soundbite from Melissa's video that Trump mentioned Iran as being the number one terrorist state, when in fact you and I both know and our listeners know that the 2 states at the head of the line before Iran would have to be Saudi Arabia and Israel?
Yeah, it's obviously all concerning. I mean, we can go even a step further than all of that sort of, I guess, material manifestation. You can look at the dark occult, the pedophilia, and what's going on that side. I mean, Sean, we really live in, I believe, exciting times. This is one of the most perfect representations of duality we could ever have incarnated in. On one side, you've got this dark occult pedophilic system that has been hell-bent on taking over the world and moving us forward into a technocracy and a transhumanism age where they've got a centralized system that is impenetrable, and that's it. They rule the roost. But then on the other side of that, you've got the neo-shamans who are really putting into action some healing modalities and actions against this dark occult, and also, obviously, the expansion of heart-centered people who have really become more conscious, and there's more people getting added to this other side of the equation, the other side of duality more and more. I know you've had guests on who talk about spiritual warfare, and you can move further into the, I guess, the multidimensional aspect of all of this as well. Obviously, we can't cover that here. We don't have time to cover that here, but there really is a pinnacle moment of human history that we are participating in. And I find that inspiring, I find that empowering, and I think we should be looking at what we should be doing on an individual level to really undermine what's going on in this external circumstance, because really what's happening in the world today is just a reflection of our collective consciousness. Now, granted, the media and other educational mechanisms have been instrumental in dumbing down the people and making them disconnected from their true self and disconnected from what it means to truly be a human in this construct. And we're just minions of a system, brainwashed into thinking a particular way by the propagandized information that has flooded over our consciousness for so many years. Yet we still have a huge opportunity. I mean, for example, we have never had more information available to us. But just because we've got the information doesn't mean we're going to be educated. As it turns out, the masses are still highly, highly ignorant to not just the connection to their true self and reality at large, but what's actually going on in the world. So I guess that's part of that duality. Again, another one is the advanced form of enslavement that exists today. It's subtle, but it's there. We're enslaved behaviorally, ideologically, obviously monetarily. The whole system is designed to enslave the people to be minions of the agenda of the ruling class. But at the same time, we've never had more power to be free. We literally can disengage from this situation, not fully, but we can disengage in a way that is almost unprecedented in human history. Another one is health. I mean, look at the toxicity, look at the suffering, the mental poverty, the actual literal physical poverty, the toxins in the food and water supply, the unbelievable amount of poor philosophical development that exists in our world. It's unbelievable. We are bombarded by this toxic reality that permeates our current circumstance. But we can still be more healthy than ever before with all the technological advances, with also with the widespread, distribution of information around what it means to really heal the self through the subconscious, through neo-shamanistic practice, wisdom, and also and meditation in general. So this is all of these problems of the world are a direct consequence of not just those who want to create a particular mindset, a particular set of circumstances for humanity. This has all been purposely designed from a long time ago on multiple levels, not just materially, but multidimensionally and spiritually as well. As above, so below is a good way of conceptualizing how that works. But it's also, and I guess this is the opportunity for people to truly become actually really empowered, really educated, really informed about how to take care of oneself. And if that is done, if the true authenticity of the person is maybe not met, because there is no end to this journey. It's always a journey of empowerment, enlightenment, and advancement and development, etc. But we've never had that opportunity to undertake that journey so powerfully before, and that's what we need to do, because it is a huge statement. It's a huge statement of rebellion. It's a huge statement of infiltrating or infecting this toxic, this parasitic sort of situation we've got now with more of the genuine, authentic, beautiful stuff that humanity can literally offer the world. So we know on the quantum physics level, we are intertwined. We are interconnected with everything. We are literally not just on an electromagnetic level, but a subtle energy level, a quantum physical 0-point energy level, radiating our mindset, our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions into the greater grid. So that is one literal approach that we can all take to really undermine the system. And I don't see enough of it. I see a lot of hypocrisy. I see a lot of hate. I see a lot of people whinging about what they've got without taking responsibility for their own lives. And that's something that I think that does concern me, and I think we should be focusing on in terms of a response to the system. Now, the other, and forgive me, Sean, I know I've talked pretty at length here, but the other part of this process is the collective action. And I truly believe that unless the alternative media and the more conscious people of our society don't come to some simple agreements, some simple core areas of focus based around values, based around natural law, then we are literally undermining the power that we have right now. We have got so much opportunity to really progress this in an efficient way, in an effective way that we've never seen before, but we're not taking that opportunity. And that's something that we need to move in that direction. I've heard you've had guests on previously, and there's a few people out in the world of independent thought who are pushing for a bit of unity, a bit more unity. But so far, it's come to against brick walls. I've been speaking about it with my connections, people like Amit Goswami. He's a cute little Indian quantum physicist and mystic. He's an absolute brilliant mind and heart. He's agreed with the approach that I've put to him. People like Ellen Brown from the Public Banking Institute, she's agreed with the approach I put to her. Max Egan, obviously an absolute true champion of the truth movement. The Truth Network. I prefer not to call it a movement anymore. I think it was Ollie Damagard who used this term, the network, and I believe that's a better way of saying it. Because we all have these disagreements, right? We're not ever going to agree. A lot of people like this anarcho-capitalistic approach to moving forward. I'm more in terms of the resource-based economy, or some sort of moving past this whole monetary enslavement. But that's okay if we disagree. I'm cool with that. I understand that we've got a long time in the making. We'll never figure it out. But there are things that we can agree on. And another person is Dean Radin. He's a leading parapsychologist, an absolute legend in his field. He's also agreed with this, but I've also come up across a lot of brick walls, a lot of resistance, a lot of silly rejection. I've been quite surprised, actually, when I put forward the proposal that people have rejected it on really stupid grounds. And it shows to me that in some cases that many people, all they want to do, they want to be the next guru, they want to be the next leader, they want to be the one who solves all the problems, and not build some basic principles to move forward together. Now, it's quite shocking. And I'd like to, sorry, Sean, sorry, mate, I was going to say I'd like to talk to you about that if we've got time for it, but sorry, back to you.
Well, I think it's tricky because, there's so much divisiveness. The problem is that the populace at large is so ignorant. Not only are they ignorant to their own power, they're ignorant to the language we're using in this conversation. They're ignorant to the New World Order and the powers that have been around for so many centuries that have played the role in enslaving them to a corrupt monetary system, by the way, which you mentioned. And I think our number one enemy is ignorance. I mean, one great example of that is this immigration issue. You've got these melon heads on the left rioting in the streets. By the way, most of that is Soros funded, the rioting part. But you've got these people on the left that are so dumbed down and so entrenched in their own ideology that they're actually not even examining facts, and they're not pointing their finger at the real enemies of humanity, like George Soros, like the Rothschilds who backed the Clintons. And that's our number one problem, Philip, is ignorance. The populace at large is so damned ignorant.
And it's also herd mentality as well, that they really believe that they're fighting for justice. They really, really believe it. It's not like they're out to go and do something that harms humanity, but they just don't realise that they're part of a process, a psyop.
But you know what's interesting? I want to just say something. What I find really interesting about what you just said, and I've given this a lot of thought, even the ones that believe they're truly fighting for some sort of justice, even if it's social justice, whatever that means to them, they are not fighting for natural law. They are not fighting for the natural rights of each of us as sovereign human beings. They are not fighting for the side of love and light. They're so detached, in my opinion, from biblical norms of right and wrong, from godliness, that they're really lost. It's like that old saying, if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. And I think a lot of these people on the left really don't believe in much of anything. Their number one talking point, you'll notice, is it always comes back to abortion rights. These people are lost.
Absolutely, and I do 100% agree with you. They think they're fighting for A, B, and C, but they're not. And that is part of the psyop. That is part of the herd mentality. That is part of the literal design. Their minds have been designed in that way for specific purposes. So they are ignorant. They are lost, and they are part of a process to divide, the ancient divide and conquer strategy. And you look at certain celebrities who have jumped on that bandwagon as well. People like George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Madonna, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, Robert De Niro, Morgan Freeman. I almost cried when I found out that Morgan Freeman was supporting Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just like, oh my God. Like, after all of the beauty and like the beauty that you have represented through the information that you've been a part of to our society, you've gone and done that. And that shows how deeply embedded, entrenched these people, including on the left and right, it doesn't matter. I'm in the center. I just want truth and freedom. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't look at this as a which side do I go on. I just want what is important for myself, my family, and humanity and reality at large.
I really ought to ask you this before we lose you about Malcolm Trump and the phone call, about the call between Donald Trump and your prime minister there in Australia, Malcolm Turnbull. What was your take on that? Because they made a big deal out of it here in our media. And of course, the mainstream media wanted to hang Trump out to dry when those of us who believe what he was doing is saying we don't want to take any of these refugees. Whatever deal was struck under Obama, I'm not for it, which again, I think is a good thing. Again, Trump has done some good things on behalf of our nation and on behalf of sovereignty, in my opinion, getting us out of the TPP, etc. But what did you make of that particular call? Was that just more showmanship on a national stage, or do you think that was real?
Well, I would say the former. At the end of the day, Malcolm Turnbull is a bankster, an ex-managing director for Goldman Sachs. He's got a huge stake in pharmaceutical companies with his shares, etc. And he is a globalist through and through. So whatever Turnbull says, and Trump's association with Turnbull is highly concerning to me. At the end of the day, we don't need these pharmaceutical monopolies making our world as toxic and our hearts as toxic as what they have, and our bodies. And we certainly don't need a corrupt money supply stripping the wealth and transferring it to the ultra elite, as it always has been done. So these are huge issues that need immediate focus by any so-called elected representative. And as far as I can tell with Trump, as well as anybody else, that it's just not being done. This is why there needs to be an alternative approach to this mess. Because I think, again, it was Max Egan who said, we have got a huge power now to hold Trump accountable. He has positioned himself as a part of the revolution. But the revolution is very lost, very confused. No one knows what some basic commonalities that we have. That everyone wants to do it their own way. And until we sort of unite on some simple values, like we value love over hate, some real simple stuff. Like I'll give you another example. We value health over money. We value peace over war. We value justice over injustice. We could literally detail a few simple values and get everybody behind them, because they're not hard to represent. Most people would value honor over disrespect, for example. And then the core areas of focus: money. Just let's make this a sovereign public utility. I don't want it in the long-term future. I think we've got amazing technologies. We've got a huge opportunity to really free ourselves up from the mundanities of life, to meet everybody's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We could do that simply, very easy. We do that yesterday. That's not an issue at all. We can do that and remove money. But for the time being, it's not going anywhere. I have to be realistic. The other one is medicine, including food. It needs to be made healthy, simple as possible. A very, very simple approach. We need to at least agree on the fact that medicine and food should be natural, not monopolized, and not toxin rich. And we need to open up cannabis. We've got an endocannabinoid system in our body. Cannabis is our companion plant. We need to have it back into our society, back into home for personal use, like we have for thousands and thousands of years. If Trump doesn't do that, then he's no representative of me or the Truthful Freedom Network. Absolutely not. The other thing is the media. I mean, obviously, the alternative media, independent media, want to be based on truth and authentic journalism. So that's a real simple core area of focus. Have a look at the mainstream media. The MSM has been an absolute disgrace, a joke for what humanity truly needs, as well as the environment. It's an absolute disgrace, and that is a simple core area of focus that we can unite on. The other one is management. I call this the 4 M's: money, medicine, media, and management. We need to look at these things, like such as, when we talk about management, I mean government and education, essentially. And I know a lot of people want an end to government. They want an anarchy system. I find that unrealistic in the short term. We're not going to move into a non-government situation anywhere near in the near future. So we really literally need to infiltrate it and change it from within. I know a lot of people say build the system from without, and I really agree with that, but I also believe that we should take both approaches. It isn't as simple as just going, let's just, let's burn it all down and start again. That's going to cause death, destruction, a lot of suffering for so many people. We need to make this a smooth transition. We need to re-educate the people. It's going to take at least a generation or two to get people to be empowered and conscious again. So this isn't, we need to look at this as a long-term plan, and the long-term plan needs to be based on some simple values and some simple core areas of focus, which all revolve around natural law. And if any of those, if any laws, we need to have academics and scientists and journalists and everybody to look at what the laws are, and if they violate what is called natural law. And for those who don't understand what natural law is, it really is just about do no harm, right? Do no harm unless in self-defense, honour your contracts, and just foster sovereignty and free endeavour. We're free people. We should be free people. If we're not doing any harm, we're acting in honour with the way that we interact with the contracts that we have with people, etc., then everything else unfolds beautifully and naturally. And any laws that contradict any of that need to be thrown out, and they need to be put on a public stage for a public critique to really determine how we're going to move forward from here in terms of that particular thing and in general. So ultimately what I'm saying, Sean, I know we're going a bit over time, but ultimately what I'm saying is that we can look at Trump and say, well, he's doing this good and that bad, but it's unless we start building some unification around what we expect out of him, and not just him, everybody else, including ourselves, then we're not going to get far fast. We need to look at our individual responsibility in this circumstance. As I said to you prior to this interview, I'm growing my own food, supplying nutrition-dense, toxin-free food to myself and my local community, and I find that a huge statement of rebellion against this system. It's also about self-determination and sustainability and a whole gamut of reasons. But it literally is undermining one of the biggest controls that this system has on us, which is our health. If we are unhealthy and food, we need to start looking at food as health or ill health, either way, because if you eat all that crap, then you're going to be, crap. That's just the way it works. And it's so amazing that people really don't get this yet. If you're going to eat this toxic material, you're going to be toxic, you're going to get disease, you're going to be sick, and you're going to die early. That's just the way it works. But that's my individual approach on that level. Then there's also all the philosophical health, sexual health, spiritual health, emotional health, mental health, psychological health, the physical health aspect, obviously, behavioral health. There's all these layers of health that very few people are really holistically focusing on. And if you truly want to be a rebel to the system, if you truly want to be a representation of the new human, the new consciousness, where we are going to go, inevitably, it will be inevitable. It depends. It might take a long time. We've got the controls on if it's going to happen sooner or later. But if you really want to be a true representative of that new consciousness, then you need to start empowering yourself on all those levels of health that I talked about, and find your authenticity as a man or woman, truly connect with what it means to be an authentic self, connected to a beautiful, magical world that has all this darkness, that we need to heal on so many bloody levels. And so it's not just about whinging about what's going on. It's about taking individual action as well as the collective action to really cement this, materialize this new consciousness on a more widespread scale.
Well, beautifully said. And I'll just add to this in terms of empowering people and raising the consciousness of those that have been brainwashed by this system. One of the things Donald Trump could do immediately is issue an arrest warrant for George Soros. I think there should be an arrest of Soros as soon as possible and a public trial where all his crimes against this nation and nations around the world are laid bare for people to see. And many on the left would then be amazed by the facts proving how manipulated they've been just by George Soros himself. Philip, how can people find your work on the web? What do you do on a daily basis, and tell us how to find your work?
Well, my food business is occupying so much of my time lately. I find it very difficult to do a lot of writing and video YouTubing, but my YouTube channel is The Conscious Society. My website is pushingthetippingpoint.com. I've got another website, Vitality Guidance, that's for more personal development stuff. And then just my Facebook, Phillip J. Watt. That's how people can get in contact with me. If anybody wants to talk further around this unification approach, I've got a proposal put up. It really is simple, and it's open for evolution. It's just a working draft. I'd really like to see people get behind this. Anything. I don't care if people want to another organisation or independent journalist, whatever, puts their own stuff together and contact me, that's fine. I just want something, a basic framework to move forward with. I think that's imperative to what we're doing. And yes, Sean, Soros needs to be arrested, same as Clinton. If Trump really is going to man up to this situation, Clinton needs to be arrested. The Clinton Foundation needs to be investigated. The stuff of George Webb on his YouTube channel, George Webb, really needs to be looked into. It's amazing stuff. This citizen journalism or citizen approach to dealing with the toxicity, the lies, the deception, the injustice is the only way, the only future for justice for our planet, because the governments aren't doing it, the academics aren't doing it, the scientists, the politicians, the journalists, or mainstream journalists, nobody's really taking this situation seriously. If we don't do this ourselves, we're going to be lost in a very, very pain-based, toxic future for humanity. Now, as I said earlier, it will change inevitably. How soon it happens, it's up to us.
Philip, thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure, as always, Sean. Look forward to our next chat, mate.
Yeah, me too. And finally, if you want to get some silver at cost, visit our friends at sdbullion.com through the month of February. And if you enter SGT Report in the coupon code, you'll be able to get a 10-ounce bar of silver at spot. No markup whatsoever. Guys, thanks so much for your support. We very much appreciate it. And check us out for real news 24/7 at sgtreport.com, thelibertymill.com, and thephaser.com.
Well, we've already found a secret memo coming out of the Justice Department. They're now going to go after 12 new perversions, things like bestiality, polygamy, having sex with little boys and making that legal.